Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Valuable company in the world right now is NVIDIA.
China gonna have to bow down, man. China is going to have to bow down.
Good evening, and welcome to the nightly recap powered by Gokhshtein News Network.
Good evening, and welcome to the nightly recap powered by the Gokhshtein News Network, your trusted source for politics, crypto, and just about everything in between that makes you question reality. And welcome to a Wednesday night. Thanks for joining me. I'm Rob Nelson. I'm not David Gokhshtein or Hotep Jesus, as you can tell. It should be apparent. Just, just plain apparent. I'm not black and I'm not a Jew. Just a white dude. I got to tell you though, one day I want to do it with both of them. I always say when I do the nightcap, I can't compete with Hotep's voice. He's got the Morgan Freeman thing going on. I mean, it's different, but you know what I mean? He's got that gravity. I don't have gravity in my voice. I just have twang, I guess. Anyway, here's what's going on. Thanks for watching, everybody, by the way. Tariffs are booming. But boom, boom, boom. I talked about this before. We've collected now, here we go, $31 billion in tariff revenue in August. That's the highest monthly total of the year. $31 billion in August. That's a big number. And, and I've done the tariff conversation before, and I won't spend too much time on it other than I'm a big fan of tariffs, always have been. And tariffs were sort of the old thing. And you go way back, like Alexander Hamilton, they liked tariffs back then. And they kind of went out of favor. We always had them. We've always had tariffs. I mean, we have big tariffs, small tariffs. Countries have tariffs. It's just that we never really used them as an economic strategy. We kind of use them, we use them to sort of balance things out, but it ended up always not balancing out in the favor of the U.S., but they were sort of compensatory, if you will. Trump's turned them into downright weapons. It's like, he's slinging them. He's like, you want to play hardball? Great. How about 50% tariffs? Oh, you don't like that number? How about 100? I can go to 5. You want 500% tariffs? People are like, the man's insane. I'm like, no, he's just weaponized tariffs and it's working. Now we're bringing in $31 billion. Here's the sidebar story. Trump is talking about, no, this is Trump talking, replacing the federal income tax with tariffs. Whoa. Well, that's going to send the economists just careening off cliff after cliff after cliff like the lemmings. Did you know the lemmings never really did that, by the way? Do you know lemmings didn't? This is a dark American story. This is like an American horror story. The lemmings don't jump off cliffs after each other. My entire life. Don't be a lemming. Don't be a lemming. You know the video? The lemmings, one rushes off the cliff, and then all of them, hundreds, just go jumping off the cliff, one after the other. It never happened. Oh, no. It wasn't AI. There was no AI back then. They did go off the cliff, one after the other, hundreds of them. They were being pushed. They didn't want to jump. The people making the documentary for Disney wanted to show that lemmings do this. I don't know what twisted screw in their head made them decide to shove hundreds of lemmings off a cliff, but out of the range of camera, they'd shove them. The little guys would run off the cliff, they'd go one after the other. And it literally looked like they were jumping, like one after the other, like woo, woo, woo. So that whole don't be a lemming, well, lemmings, don't be a lemming. Yeah, don't be a lemming and get your ass shoved off a cliff by some filmmaker who's got some perverted desire to show nature in its most extreme, even if falsified view. This is the Disney company. Oh, but Disney can do no wrong. Disney's gotten itself in more trouble. Disney, I'm just winding all over here with this. Tariffs instead of taxes, income taxes. I hate the federal income tax. I'm all for it. I'm all for anything that gets rid of the federal income tax. Toss the thing. Bye-bye. See ya. Sayonara. It's Japanese, I think, for goodbye. I can say hasta la vista. That's Schwarzenegger. Meanwhile, good news coming, supposedly. Well, I don't know. Cuts on the horizon. Fed cuts, we're talking. Who is it? Fed Governor Waller says supports interest rate cuts in coming months. I've read this a couple of times now. I think, look, they have to cut at some point. I think a lot of people thought they would cut in the first quarter of this year. Then they thought they'd cut in the second quarter. Now I guess we're looking at cutting in the third quarter, certainly by the fourth quarter. Our economic system is goofy. Our Fed is goofy. They're goofy. They're just plain goofy. They're a bunch of academic goofs. I'm sorry. They get it all wrong. They're way behind. They're way behind. I will say, I will give them credit. The Fed is planning to hold a conference. It's only a conference, but it's a step on emerging tech, on crypto, stable coins, tokenization, and AI. Good for them. They're about to step into the 21st century. This technology is moving so fast, you guys. It's like rocket speed. Like that, my water bottle rocket, water bottle. I do all kinds of tricks here tonight. And the Fed is so far behind. Their analysis is always behind. Their data is always behind. The whole joke with the Fed is they do it too little, too late, too much, never too soon. Too much, too late, too little, too late, whatever that is. They waited too long to bring rates. They waited too long to raise rates, and they're waiting too long to bring them down. And they're always looking at data. The market's already priced them in way ahead of time. So the market's already priced in what they think the Fed is going to do and did and is going to do now. So it's sort of like the Fed's almost obsolete. They're just pricing in the behavior, and they hope the Fed then does what the Fed then has to signal they're going to do. So we kind of give you a heads up so you get it right. We think we're going to probably do it. Good. You guys heard us? Good. So now the market adjusts, and then lo and behold, the day comes and they do it. They almost never don't do what they signal they're going to do, because that would really send the markets. Do you imagine that? Like the Fed sort of signals, and the Federal Reserve, they give their speeches and the whole thing, and indicating a definite, drop in interest rates this next month. It's going to happen. The market factors it in, and then they come out and go, so we decided to raise interest rates 0.5%. The whole market would just go boom. Want to do that one again to another sound effect? The boom sound effect. So that's a good thing. Tariffs booming, Fed cutting. We need some new. I think that the tariff for the taxes is a good trade-off. I think we got to get rid of the federal income tax. One way or the other. Who wants a federal income tax? If you like income taxes, raise your hand. Find me one person. In fact, I think the only thing we could all agree on is we don't like taxes. I think both parties, both sides, the ultra progressives, the hardcore conservatives, AOC and MGT can all agree. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go, no, they like other people to pay taxes. Like, sure, AOC thinks rich people should pay taxes, but nobody likes taxes. I mean, they're almost like a necessary evil. And we even have that saying, there's two things that are inevitable in life, death and taxes. Oh, that's how bad taxes are. They're right up there with the one thing. And I don't know about you guys, I'm terrified of dying. I want to be immortal. Here's a sidebar question. If you could live forever, absolutely forever, like 100% forever, and you wouldn't get old and decrepit and be like, like roll around in a wheelchair and lose your brain and not know what's going on. You wouldn't be Joe Biden on dementia steroids. If you could live forever and basically be, healthy and look the way you look, and maybe you'd have some changes how you look, but I mean, essentially you could look young. Let's just say you could look under 50, somewhere between 20 and 50, okay? And live forever and not be sickly all the time. You're immortal. What would you give up for it? And here's the harsh one. Who would you kill? Would you kill off everyone you love? They're going to die anyway. That'd be my reasoning. They're going to die anyway. We're all going to die, so I shorten their lives up a little and I go on forever. That is probably the most selfish thing in the world. But I think I would to live forever. That's how much I want to live forever. So death and taxes, back to that. Taxes are up there. By the way, birth was one of the others. I guess birth isn't inevitable. You could be, you could not get born, but once you're alive, you have to die. Death and taxes. So yeah, let's get rid of taxes. Let's change some things up. It seems like the changing things up thing is working. Okay, sidebar. Gold climbs to a new all-time high of $3,560 per ounce. Quick sidebars, but then I'm gonna I'm gonna do a loop back. I'm gonna do my circle loop back. No, I will not say circle back. That sounds like Jen Psaki. Polymarket finally gotten the nod from the Commodity Futures Trading Corporation, CFTC, to be in the U.S. Yay, we can. I've been waiting. I want to bet on Polymarket stuff. I want to bet on all kinds of random things on Polymarket, and you couldn't in the U.S. I mean, you could, but you had to kind of dance around it. It was, now you can just do it straight up legal. I love that. And I'm going to circle to orbit. I'm going to call it my orbits. That's what I said in my show before. Donald Trump Jr. calling the modern financial system a big Ponzi scheme. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. It's kind of a big Ponzi scheme, and it doesn't work, and it's centralized. And Bitcoin, and he said Bitcoin is the new gold. Well, yeah, I've been saying that. David's been saying that. I mean, lots of us have been saying that, for a long time on this network. And when I was on the street, I mean, Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is truly digital gold. Yeah, it's what gold represents and more. It's the digital version of gold, but it's also a technology. Gold's not a technology. Gold is just a store of value. And I guess it used to serve as a currency in some places, but you got to cart gold around. It's a lot to drag around. So I wouldn't call it literally like gold. Gold, first of all, is not finite. Gold is scarce. Gold is a store of value because we gave it that designation. Think about that. It's only valuable because we said it was. Now, it had to be limited, but for example, oil is very valuable and oil is not scarce. Well, I mean, oil is limited, but there's lots of oil. Oil just serves a running function. Bitcoin serves a storage function. And I do think it serves as a currency and will serve as a currency in numerous countries. There are those who believe all in on the Bitcoin and those who don't. David sort of raised this question with me, and I don't think I brought it up on the last nightcap, but maybe I did. Maybe I'm getting the dementia. Will Bitcoin flip with ETH? Will Ethereum flip Bitcoin? I know an investor who has a lot of money, and he's a trad guy, but he told me the other night he sold all his Bitcoin and he's buying Ethereum and Solana. Now, he doesn't think Bitcoin's going to tank. He just thinks the upside of Bitcoin is maybe it doubles, maybe triples in X period of time. I mean, I think we can all argue, those who follow it, we see it probably reaching 500,000. Is that 500,000 happen in a year, 2 years? Don't know, 6 months? But 500,000 would be essentially, a four-ish increase, depending on where Bitcoin floats, yesterday or tomorrow. But say it quadruples. Okay, does it quadruple this year? No, I doubt it. Does it double this year? Maybe. Does it quadruple in another year? Maybe. But his point is Ethereum has a much higher upside to go up. So he could see Ethereum 10xing in a couple of years. And it's smaller, and that smaller makes it easier for people. I've never quite figured out why the smaller price makes it easier for people, because you're not really buying a whole Bitcoin. People all say how many Bitcoins you own. It's what the amount you're spending on it. But that said, let's talk about what's going into Bitcoin. So Millennium, Japanese company, announced that they did 244 million in ETFs in Q2, Bitcoin, 244 million. I mentioned the other day, MetaPlanet, the board of directors approved an $800 million raise primarily to buy Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, I think I got those numbers right. Yeah. Well, MetaPlanet's Japanese. I don't know why I called Millennium. MicroStrategy in August in September bought 450 million, and in August 357 million. You add those all up right there, that's over $1 billion right there, and that's all in the last month and a half. MicroStrategy has $33 billion total Bitcoin. Can you imagine that? 33 billion. Woo, that's a lot. But here's a couple other things. So TMTG, Trump Media and Tech Group, right? That's Trump's company. They bought, I didn't know this. I didn't realize this. They bought $2 billion in July in Bitcoin, and they're following the MicroStrategy. I gotta stop calling it MicroStrategy. It's not just called strategy. Like Facebook's Meta, MicroStrategy strategy. GameStop, $500 million, 500 million. And I looked, and apparently 60 US firms between April and now have bought Bitcoin and put it on their books. 60 firms totaling a little over 11 billion. And that's like healthcare companies, software companies, gaming companies. I've said forever, more and more companies are going to start holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And now we're starting to see it happen. So again, Bitcoin does keep rising. The question is how much. Here is a funny sidebar. So I asked my ChatGPT to do a little background look on TMTG and stuff. And it referred to it as former President Trump's company. And I went back to it and said, that's interesting. Why would you refer to him as the former president? And smartass ChatGPT came right back at me, because that's the proper way to refer to him, is the former president, because he was the former president of the United States, the 45th president, and blah, 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 blah. And I called my ChatGPT out right there, and I was like, twice have told me that Donald Trump is a former president. Which part of you doesn't get that he's the current president? And I'm like, and he's literally the most famous man on the planet. So how did you get that wrong? How did you get that wrong? Good old ChatGPT came right out and admitted it, lied to me. So it said it was sorry. It didn't do its homework. I'm going to show you what it said. It said it didn't do its homework, and it just shortcut it, and it didn't humanly verify. And I said, so basically, no. I said, somebody had to put that in. It's like when these searches don't get something, it's like, how would you know? How would you miss that? And it said that it's trained on past texts. And former President Trump was said so often in those 3 years, 21 to 24, when he actually was the former president. And it didn't trigger, I didn't trigger my quote, check recency reflex before answering. I didn't know ChatGPT has a check recency reflex. It has reflexes. For fast changing fact, like who's in office, I'm supposed to verify live. I didn't, then correct it after you flagged it. That was just a fun sidebar, ChatGPT. Can't trust it. AI, speaking of which, a mystery item was tossed outside of the White House second-story window, and it's on video. And Peter Ducey of the Fox went up to Trump. I love how Trump now has these relationships with the Fox reporters and the Fox channel, like all that. And they're very collegiate, friendly. So Peter Ducey goes right up and literally holds up his phone to the president at the podium and showing him the video. It's kind of funny to watch, and Trump's staring intently. And it says something being tossed out the window of the White House, like a garbage bag. And Trump goes, those windows are locked, so nobody could have thrown it out. I don't think somebody opened up a window and tossed the trash bag out. I think it's AI, but I think it's probably really good AI. And that's my point. I think we're going to start seeing some seriously good AI cooking up. And woo, I mean, what's going to be real and what's not? I've asked this before. How will you even know I'm here? Then I can make it have a little fuzz behind my head too if the lighting's off. We can make it so whatever. I've already seen stuff that's just so remarkably you can't even tell. You won't know. I mean, you can call your girlfriend or your spouse or your boyfriend or your husband, whatever, you kids, you can call your dad, mom, whatever. You can fake that you're there saying something. Yeah, no, I'm at my friends. Yeah, we're having a drink down the street here. Yeah, everybody say hi. Meanwhile, you're off having sex with somebody. No, because the fake AI made it look so good. I mean, all kinds of stuff's going to go on. Ask yourself, how are you going to? We think it was a big deal shifting to smartphones and computers and live streams and heck, rockets from horses. This one's going to just do a whoo on the human brain. It's going to turn everything upside down. And I'm not just talking about people's jobs or how we learn or how fast you can do so much on AI right now. And it's not even sentient. It's remarkable what you can create, what you can do. It's stunning. It's stunning what it will do in 2 minutes. It would take you days, and it's really good. But when it comes to the identity stuff, that's just the sex stuff, that's the fascinating stuff. Ask yourself that. I've asked this question before. What would you do? Is it cheating? Is it cheating if your partner has AI sex or has an AI robot? And they'll be in relationships with you. They will love on you. They will treat you so well. They will say all the things your wife won't say or your girlfriend won't say, and all the things your husband or your boyfriend won't say. They'll do it all. It's going to be fascinating, you guys. Absolutely fascinating. Meanwhile, France fined Google $380 million for violating privacy. Oh, shocker. Google violated your privacy? Come on. Sidebar, I know a guy who has a company where they buy up defunct websites or ones where people hit a number, spell it wrong, and then they sell the names to Google because people keep hitting it. So say it's a popular thing, but people keep mishitting one thing, they get all the hits. And whatever that thing was, let's say it was pizza, some big pizza, or going to like Domino's or whatever. They get all the people who wanted pizza and sell the names to Google, who then markets pizzas to them. Makes a fortune doing it. But yes, Google's all over your privacy. Meanwhile, Tim Burchett is congressman. He wants a nationwide ban on stock trades for U.S. politicians. I think this is brilliant. It won't happen. You know why? Because who'd have to ban it? Yeah, them. That's like, not giving themselves pay raises. Or giving themselves like the health plan. Remember they did the whole health Obamacare and all that? Who didn't get Obamacare? They got to keep their premium healthcare plans, right? They're going to ban their ability to trade all stocks? No. They're only going to Washington so they can make more money. A tiny, tiny percentage are going to actually, because they truly love America and want to serve for a couple of years, give their heart and soul and make this a better place. Some, yes. But most are going for the lucrative power and money that comes from that. Not literally when they're there, but when they leave. And that would include investing in stocks that they want to build up while they're there. You show me the day. We will have tariffs over an income tax before they ban their ability. Congress bans its own ability to stock trade. But I think it's a great idea. This should and they shouldn't be able to go be lobbyists. It should be an in and out. Now go back and do something unrelated to government. But they're never going to do that. This is a really interesting one. A Boston federal judge has ruled. So remember, the Trump administration went after Harvard for its and Columbia and a few other big Ivy Leagues for being anti-Semitic. And obviously they were trying to get them for other things. I mean, they just hated their whole wokeism, their identity politics. I don't think they were wrong, that they were essentially like, you're corrupting kids' minds with, there's a reason why all these campuses have massive Palestinian protests from kids who have no connection to Palestine. I'm not talking about the ones who are of Arab descent. I'm talking about people who have no connection, dressed like they do, have never been there, couldn't point it on a map, doesn't even know what the river to the sea means, couldn't tell you the history, doesn't seem to realize that the Jews were the ones that they went to try to get rid of first and surrounded them with a bunch of countries that want to make them go bye-bye into the sea forever. And, that's at the core of the anti-Semitism of the modern times. This to all kinds of, the trans issue, again, not knocking trans people, but the idea that you're in college, girls sports, Title IX, women's sports, a whole big deal at high school, and then in college, and you're like all against it, like guys should be able to compete. It's bizarre. So yeah, they went after him for all that stuff, but they hung it on the anti-Semitism and threatened to cut $2.2 billion in federal funds to Harvard. Now here's the thing. I think I have a whole issue with how the government gives out research grants. Yes, I know our elite universities do some enormously good work and in terms of health and medicine and all that. They're also tax exempt, and they make fortunes, and the patents and all that. I mean, it's like there was the military industrial complex, there's like the healthcare university complex. Like so much of it's coagulated, and so much of it's like the companies are getting basically free research. The universities get massive amounts of grants. People get big paychecks. People get amazing jobs. So yes, there's good that comes of it. But I think the anti-Semitism was real, and it was scary, and it was perpetuated, and these schools were intolerant and were like, F you can't tell us what to do. Well, no. But the U.S. government can, like doing my finger points right, I kind of like that. Look, the U.S. government can tell you they won't give you our money. I think somewhere along the way, everybody seems to have forgotten that this is our money. It's my money. It's your money. It's somebody else's person sitting next to you's money. It is not the politicians' money. They are elected to distribute our money, which we pay for in the taxes that I hope will be replaced with the tariffs by DJT. Thank you very much. And Bitcoin. But it's not their money, and they don't have a right to that money. I'm not even sure all these universities should be tax exempt. They're just giant. They make so much money, and they charge astronomical amounts for kids to go get a basic education that doesn't really help them very much. I'm not talking about the advanced science stuff. I'm talking about your 4-year liberal arts education. Really go get a job. Go do what you want to do. I don't care what it is. You want to make movies? Don't go to film school. Go make movies. Go watch people. Go apprentice. It's truly the best way to learn these days. And with AI, it's more and more true. I mean, even I have a law degree, and you know what? The truth is they wouldn't let you, but you should theoretically just be able to pass the bar. Go study and take the bar. If you pass it, then you can be a lawyer. It's the same test for everybody. And we didn't study much black letter law in law school at Stanford. You know, black letter law is the law you have to know to pass the bar. We just studied all kinds of theories, and it was cool. But when it came down to the bar, everybody had to go take a bar review course and jam for weeks to learn all the black letter law that they didn't learn in law school. So again, I think the federal government had every right to do it. The judge, you know, she's, you know, it won't end there. But she argued that the Trump administration just hung this on anti-Semitism as a backdoor way to penalize these universities. I don't buy it. I just admitted, I think they do want to punish these universities. But don't call the anti-Semitism a backdoor tokenized thing. It's real. It's more real than all the other things that I just mentioned that seem to be very real. So, you know, it's more real than a guy who's a guy saying he's a woman playing on a women's sports team and saying men can have babies too. And women, you know, are women who menstruate or whatever it's called, people who menstruate. It's like, gee, what the? So no, the anti-Semitism was real. And I hope the Supreme Court will ultimately, I'm an appeals court will hear it first, but then a Supreme Court. But these federal judges exercising their might, throwing their power around. And it is crazy when you realize, I mean, what we even saw with all the judges doing this, people shop a case this didn't happen that way, but they would shop a case, you know, like with the, you know, the like immigration stuff, shop a case to a favorable judge, and then that judge would do a nationwide injunction, even affecting everybody who wasn't party to that case. And it just doesn't work that way. That's what a class action lawsuit is called. They couldn't do them as class action lawsuits because it wouldn't work. So instead, they shopped around to find a judge that would finally, you know, put it out 6 different places. One of them says yes, puts the injunction on everybody. It's a chaotic way to run things. And I think the Supreme Court will ultimately knock a lot of it down. Okay, last thing I wanna go out on is, and this is one I do not fully understand, but Apple I do understand. Apple and Google are agreeing to evaluate AI Gemini model for the new Siri. So the two titans come together. If that doesn't tell you what AI is and what AI will do. AI is uniting Apple and Google, and both will be, you know, are being united with Trump. So they're all sellouts. So everything's going to go upside down. The tech world, as we go read a Philip Dick novel, go read Ubik. I'm finishing that one up. It's fascinating. Written in the late 60s, but nonetheless, I'll tell you the funniest thing though. Philip Dick saw more about the future. Think of all the movies, Total Recall, Minority Report, Blade Runner, movies made off The Man in the High Castle, off Philip Dick's novels. And he sees this whole world. You know, it's written in 1969. So the world in reality, it's not that much off from where we are in terms of the year now, but that would be a long way ahead when he's writing the book of how all this stuff happens and people go in between planets, and they have precogs that see things, and then they have other people who can stop the precogs. So it's like mental war. But what he doesn't get, people still use phones. He calls them something different. They have video phones. They have super cool sound equipment, high phonic. He comes up with fun names for disc players. He doesn't see the technological shift to digital. It's so interesting when you read it. He doesn't see the shift to digital. William Gibson and Neil Stephenson, Cryptonomicon, Snow Crash, they saw a shift. I think those guys went forward in time, came back and wrote their books. All right, that's the nightly recap for tonight. Thanks everybody for watching. Tune in to Everything Good on the Gokhshtein News Network. And tomorrow night, Taylor Ferber debuts her show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You'll want to check that out. She is great. Playboy called her the celebrity whisperer. You don't want to miss that. And again, and so much more. Thanks for watching.
Valuable company in the world right now is NVIDIA.
China gonna have to bow down, man. China is going to have to bow down.
Good evening, and welcome to the nightly recap.